What's going on, guys? Matt here from Film School Hooligans, welcoming you to our very first installment of 5-Minute Film School. I'm your host, and today we are going to be diving into Steven Spielberg's masterpiece, Jaws. Jaws was directed by Steven Spielberg and was adapted from the novel by Peter Benchley. Jaws was released in the summer of 1975 to over 67 million Americans, thus making it the first known blockbuster in movie history. Jaws tells the story of a killer shark who is preying off the tourists of Amity Island. After a string of gruesome deaths, a crazed fisherman, an oceanic researcher, and the town's police chief go on a dangerous mission to hunt and kill the shark. Jaws has become a staple in cinematic history, and over 40 years since its release date, it still carries with it the terror and the effect that it did in the 1970s. It is ranked by the AFI being one of the top 100 best films of all time. When Spielberg set out to make Jaws, the original intent was to create a terrifying masterpiece. Full of gore, jump scares, and a menacing creature, most of his vision came to life, with some exceptions regarding the actual shark. The shark was made with a special silicone that resembled whale blubber. Special chemicals were added to the skin of the shark so that it wouldn't corrode from the seawater. The shark was menacing. With a lifelike head and fin, Spielberg knew he had created something special. But what Spielberg didn't know was the problems that lie ahead. The shoot itself was difficult. Jaws producer David Brown said, "I remember being on set for the first shark test and it simply sank." Spielberg later chimed in, signed, and said, "The shark was difficult." More than half of the shoot of Jaws resulted in complications with the shark itself. Half the time it broke down, while the other times it simply would sink to the bottom of the sea. Because of these major problems with the shark, the production went way over its projected $3.5 million budget, and Spielberg was forced to find another way to utilize the effect of the shark. For almost the entire film, audiences never actually see the shark. The shark itself is told from a first-person point of view, and once in a while you will see the shark's fins swimming by. By utilizing this first-person point of view, and never actually seeing the shark up until the end, it built up tremendous suspense, and Spielberg had created a modern Hitchcockian film. The deaths were gruesome, but the fact that you never saw the shark made it all the more terrifying. On a side note, Spielberg named the shark Bruce, which Pixar Animation Studios used as homage when they created a great white shark for their film Finding Nemo, only to be named Bruce. With the failings of the mechanical shark, another problem arose. Richard Dreyfuss and actor Robert Shaw were in constant conflict. They argued, fought, and brought a very negative energy to the film, which shows in the actual product. The character Hooper and Quint, for a majority of the film, are constantly arguing and going against each other. On film, it added a great realistic effect, even if in real life it wasn't so glamorous. Robert Shaw had numerous blackouts on set from alcohol-induced drinking, and a lot of his dialogue was improvised. One of the most dramatic scenes in the film is a little scene spoken by Robert Shaw's character Quint as he recounts his survival on the USS Indianapolis. The scene monologue was written by friend and fellow director John Milius. Spielberg later recounted that the speech was brilliant. Robert Shaw loved the speech and trimmed it down to around 5 pages or so, and then improvised the rest.
1,100 men went into the water. The vessel went down in 12 minutes. Didn't see the first shark for about half an hour. Tiger, 13-footer, you know that when you're in the water, Chief? You tell by looking from the dorsal to the tail. What we didn't know was our bomb mission had been so secret, no distress signal had been sent.
The result was breathtaking, haunting, and just a truly unforgettable monologue. Speaking of improvised, the most famous scene in the film comes from Chief Brody when he is feeding Chum into the ocean. The shark appears out of nowhere, which startles Brody. He backs away and delivers the famous line, "You're gonna need a bigger boat." Not originally in the script, actor Roy Scheider thought the line was great, and Spielberg liked it so much that he decided to keep it in the picture. Now it's one of the most famous lines in movie history, and is often the most quoted.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
In regards to camera work, Jaws remains one of the most creatively shot pictures in motion picture history. Most of the film was shot at eye level, with the majority of the shots taking place either in the water or in a boat. One of the most famous shots in the film takes place during the beach scene, where the little Kittner boy is killed. The camera shows Chief Brody sitting in his beach chair, staring off into the water. As people walk by him, the camera angle suddenly changes. And then when someone else walks by, the camera angle changes again. This was done to the effect to show that there are many people on the beach, but Brody has just one focus, and that is on the water itself. Of course, when Alex Kittner is eaten, the more famous shot comes, and it is referred to as the Jaws shot. When Alex Kittner is pulled under the water, the camera focuses on Brody. The effect in layman's terms is called the dolly zoom. The dolly zoom sees the camera track towards or away from the subject, while the zoom lens is adjusted in the opposite direction, resulting in an increased perception of depth. The effect is a perfect way to invoke Brody's shock and horror, but his inability to look away. This same technique was also famously used in Peter Jackson's first Lord of the Rings film, which also gave that scene a sense of horror. The most famous part about Jaws is not the camera techniques, the editing, or the shark itself, but it is the score that sets Jaws apart from almost every movie to grace the screen. John Williams, who has composed almost all of Spielberg's films, created a theme that only had a couple of keys and tunes. When Spielberg first heard the theme, he laughed and thought it was a joke. Williams assured him it wasn't and told Steven to watch the film with the score, and when he did, he realized the brilliance of the score. The rising sounds getting louder and louder, representing a large shark, swimming only to be coming for its first kill. The Jaws theme is one of the most famous scores, and it is certainly one of the most recognizable alongside Star Wars. Spielberg was 27 years old when he made Jaws. The problematic sets and props, the belligerent actors and crew all pointed to one of the biggest failures of Spielberg's career. But as it turned out, Jaws was a huge hit and one of the all-time greatest films. It defined the term blockbuster for summer movie audiences and was the first film ever to gross more than $100 million at the box office. Its total gross was $260 million domestically. Jaws is still shown in theaters all around the world today, and since its release, audiences have been terrified to go into the water. Jaws is a staple in cinema history, and it has become a part of our culture. And remember, kids, think twice before you go out into the ocean, because somewhere out there, Jaws is lurking. You won't see me in the water anytime soon. Anyway, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this first installment, and until next time, you stay classy.